Hello, I am the real life fake wizard. Tron Ares is Disney's attempt to make a movie for fans again. In my bones, I walked out of the theater feeling as if this really was intended to be made and produced for people who are true fans of the first two films. However, in the last decade of Disney arrogance and distancing themselves from reality and who the true audience really is, they've also forgotten how to tell good stories and make good movies. Just because you think you're making a movie for the fans doesn't inherently mean it's immediately good or deserves your money. In fact, this movie must have been written entirely by writers who've never spoken to other human beings. AI couldn't have written this film because AI writes better than whatever this dialogue was. Tron Ares, sadly, will probably be the final nail in the Tron coffin. I want to start off by saying I am a big fan of Tron and the Tron films. I love the first film, and I didn't really care for Tron Legacy, mostly because I didn't like the ending with Kevin Flynn's death. That wasn't necessary to me. Killing off legacy characters has never sat well with me as a viewer. In fact, I was so upset by Kevin Flynn's death, I scoured the internet for weeks after its release, hoping to find something somewhere of some writer or producer or someone involved dropping a one-liner about Kevin Flynn still being alive. That was a very complicated search, of course, because the movie featured an entire marketing campaign around the phrase, Flynn lives, right? Yeah, Flynn lives, except he dies at the end of the movie. And the anticipation I had was only worsened by the Blu-ray release of Tron Legacy, where there's an extra epilogue to the film called The Next Day, which sets up a true Tron 3. But Kevin Flynn is still dead. A true Tron 3, huh? Well, here we are in 2025, 15 years after Tron Legacy came out, and this is what we got. Instead of going through a full plot review of Tron Ares, I'm just going to go through a list of the complaints that I can find about the film, and I will provide my thoughts to those complaints. There are enough channels doing full plot reviews, and this film is so messy and so bad that I'm going to leave it to other channels better than I to break it down. Number 1, disregard for previous films and canon. People are upset that this film doesn't directly continue where Tron Legacy left off. It doesn't. There is a massive time jump that leaves Sam Flynn, Alan Bradley, Cora, Cillian Murphy's Dillinger character, and Ram out of the universe. Sam Flynn is mentioned as leaving NCOM for personal reasons, and that's it. That's all we know about him. Tron Ares ends with a setup saying they're gonna go and find Sam, but that's it. Which means Tron Ares does not follow up upon the ISO story that was so important in the last film. Bringing Cora to the real world was supposed to change the world because ISOs were important, and that plotline goes nowhere. Number 2, Jared Leto's casting and performance. No one likes Jared Leto. After Morbius, I think people have seen through this guy and how much of a dangerous character he is in the real world. Go ahead and look up Jared Leto's cult, because he's got one. His performance in Tron Ares is not the worst in the cast. All things considered, he might have the best performance of the protagonist. That doesn't mean he's good, it just means he isn't the worst. The Ares character that Leto plays is damaged heavily by the writing. The idea of a program wanting to gain permanence and exist in the real world is an interesting idea, but this movie doesn't even take enough time to ask why. From the moment Ares is created, he already wants to be human. He already shows signs of human emotions, or at least has an interest in human emotions. But why? Why is this happening? We never find out. And there are a lot of instances where when the audience watching this movie asks why, the film falls apart. Number 3, weak storyline and plot issues. I do not want to explain the plot to this film. Like, I don't want my brain to have to process it. I don't want to try to explain it. That's why I said let other channels do that, not me. It's messy. It's convoluted. I understand this film on the surface level. I get it. I do not want to start reading into everything or trying to make light of all the nonsense, because I genuinely think I will have a stroke trying to explain what everything means. This movie tries to be sophisticated, but it's actually very shallow. It tries to serve the fans, but doubles back on telling us we should give a damn about new characters while diminishing legacy characters. This movie has the worst member berries I've ever seen. Let's talk about that now. Member berries make no sense. Part of the plot is sending Aries into Kevin Flynn's old server. They say this server is very 80s, and when he gets there, it is the grid from the first Tron movie. Okay, sure thing. But in this 80s server, Aries meets Kevin Flynn himself, who is exclusively there so Jeff Bridges can be in all the marketing. The explanation for why Kevin Flynn is alive and inside this computer is, and I swear I'm not making this up, quote, "I'm here because you're here, man." And we're just supposed to accept that. Kevin Flynn then gives Aries the MacGuffin plot device and Aries leaves. That's it for Kevin Flynn. At the end of the film, bad guy Evan Peters, who plays Dillinger's grandson, beams himself into the destroyed Dillinger server, and his identity disc is now the Sark identity disc from the original film in the 80s. And when he takes it, it turns him into Sark, and there's an audio of the MCP from the original 1982 film that says, "Sark," just in case you didn't know who he was turning into. All of this sounds ridiculous, and it is, but this is the level of incompetence that writers have today. Someone wrote this, and Disney said okay. And then someone said, we need to put $180 million up to make this. And Disney said, okay, and then they made it. And Disney saw it and said, okay, let's put it in all the cinemas. Tron Ares has a good soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails. It's good. It's not great like Tron Legacy's soundtrack by Daft Punk, but it's good nonetheless. However, if you were to mute the soundtrack and listen to just the Tron Ares dialogue, you'd instantly realize how terrible the writing is. The soundtrack in Tron Ares is used to lull you into a false sense of thinking everything you're seeing is cool, because the music is cool. It is smoke and mirrors, it's fake, it's an illusion. The soundtrack is cool. I just wish it wasn't wasted on such a terrible film. The girl bossification of Tron. In this new Tron film, Kevin Flynn's company, Encom, has been taken over by CEO Eve Kim, played by Greta Lee. This lady cannot act. She's a terrible actress. Not a single line delivery was believable. Now, people online are raving that she's a Mary Sue and an unfailing girl boss, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with them, but I'm more concerned with the fact that they wrote Sam Flynn out of this film to replace him with this lady who cannot act. Eve Kim is a terrible character. I have nothing nice to say about Greta Lee's performance or this character at all. I don't know why they made the creative choices to do this to the world and this character. I could speculate and say it was to please international markets, but that would be an unverified guess. Tron Ares is not a good movie. It has elements that could have made for a good film, like there are bird's eye view ideas that on their own are interesting and could have been used to tell an interesting story, if only these ideas were placed in the hands of capable writers. In this case, Disney has successfully killed another legacy franchise, and this time, well, yikes, it's not even gonna make a penny worth of money. It is extremely unlikely that this film turns a profit. With a $180 million budget and word of mouth this bad, I think that's it for Tron. Until next time, my friends, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus.